Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to look at the second book in the trilogy of, I believe it's Safekeepers by Sharon Shinn. So this is The Truth Teller's Tale. Now, these three books, I've already covered the Secret Keeper's Secret, and then the next book is the Dream Maker's Magic. So they're loosely connected. So in the next following books, in this book, the main character from the first book is present and makes an appearance briefly. And then the same with this one. The pair of twins that this book is about make a brief appearance in the next book. So, in this book, you follow two sisters. You have Edna and Adele. Now, Edna is the truth teller. Adele is a secret keeper. They're mirror image twins. So while a lot of people, without looking closely, would think they're identical, they'd be wrong. One is left-handed, one is right-handed. They both have one eye that's blue, one eye that's green, but it's opposite. They part their hair on opposite sides, so that's not really a genetic thing. So that's a choice, but still. So Edna is the main protagonist and the voice of this story. So they find out that they are both a truth teller and a secret keeper early on. Their parents own an inn. So this is actually good business for them. And normally you don't figure that out, that they're truth tellers or safekeepers until they're a little bit older. These girls find out when they're about 12. So, and then they also have a friend who shows up, and she's a major character in this book. Rosalind, and her father is a major shipping magnate in this, and he wants Rosalind to marry the Prince Darren, and he's making all these connections. He's actually a pretty nasty person. And then she has an older brother, Micah, who kind of protects her. Their mother died when she was really young, and so, but essentially Kiro, which is what it's his last name, but that's what everybody knows him as. He doesn't want his daughter Rosalind associating with basically an innkeeper's daughters. She doesn't particularly care. She likes them. They're her friends. They kind of grew up together. So they find out that he's planning on getting her married to the prince, though of course this isn't finalized whatsoever when they're 12, but they also that he's planning on essentially moving high above and being very, very wealthy and moving on to the aristocracy. And so again, he doesn't want her having anything to do with him, and he's hiring all sorts of tutors and things. This is right around the time they're 12 years old. Now, the other thing that happens right around this time is the current Dream Maker, who is the mother to the sister of the queen, illegitimate. So she shows up and kind of reveals, she asks the parents always, it's like, do you have anything for me, basically dreams for me? They're like, not really. And she does identify that your children, though I think it's another truth teller who shows up, that the children are a truth teller and a secret keeper. And she's like, you should go to the capital city. And basically the queen is calling all truth tellers and secret keepers to basically present her newborn daughter to them. So she has Darren, who's older. And Darren's like 13 or 14 at this point. So, or definitely older boy. I think, yeah, he's around the girl's age. He's around 12 at this time. So, she's finally had a second child, and she wants basically to present it to them. So the parents are very happy to do this. They're innkeepers. So having both their daughters be a truth teller and a secret keeper are going to bring business into their establishment. So they're very, very happy, not to mention they're good parents and they love their kids. So they go to the palace, and they're kind of presented eventually to the queen. You actually never meet the king in this. In any of these tales, they rarely ever mention the king, which is kind of odd. Besides, of course, the queen's late father, who is mentioned in the first book, because he wants a son so desperately and doesn't want to acknowledge her. So they're presented at about age 12, and Adele asks to hear, apparently the royal family has secret names. So she asks Fiona, who is the little girl's aunt and the main character for the last book, what the baby girl's secret name was. And she tells her. So, of course, you don't know this, and it does pay attention. She also asks for the prince's secret name. This becomes important later. And then basically, Edna reveals that she's going to be calmer, and she's not going to be as much trouble as her brother. And she reveals that Prince Darren worries his mother quite a bit. He's a bit of a difficult child. She's like, he's a good child. He's a loving child. He has a good heart, but he does worry her quite a bit. It's like, yep, you're a truth teller. This is just kind of what they do. She's kind of nervous that she just presented this to the queen, but she's like, you're a truth teller. That's kind of what you do. And that's what they expect. So that's kind of the beginning of the book. Then you go through the girls kind of getting older, their relationship with Rosalind, their relationship with her brother Micah, and how people frequently mix them up on occasion. People who are closest to them know who they are. And the town also figures out, because as a secret keeper, Adele will lie quite easily. That's basically what she does. So the townspeople know a specific phrase to ask. They say, like, is my secret safe with you? And Adele will always answer yes. And Edna would always truthfully, because that's what truth tellers do, they cannot tell a lie, answer no. So they know, most of the people in town know how to ask, so they do not get mixed up between these two. So otherwise they're close family, like Rosalind and their parents, and even the dream maker can tell them apart because they know them very well and they know what to look for. So they also know their personalities. So, and Rosalind, of course, was also one of those people. She's known them since they were young. She knows them on sight. She can tell them difference. And she's getting stressed. A lot of this revolves around Rosalind because her father is trying to make her aristocracy. And she's having various mindless flings, doing various things and kind of taking off her father quite a bit with various carriage boys. He keeps taking her to the capital cities, this capital city, cannot speak, and to try to get him and the queen are trying to get her to meet Prince Darren. He never shows up. He pretty much avoids it. So it's coming on winter. Now, previously, Micah had disappeared. So he was on a ship of his father's and it went down. So Adele becomes very, very sick, and her sister doesn't quite understand why. Until her sister eventually figures out that Adele is in love with Micah. So that's something she finds out. Of course, Rosalind's devastated to lose her brother. But eventually they ask Edna, it's like, her sister asks her, it's like, is he coming back? She's like, yes. And they stare at her. It's like, she's like, I can't tell a lie. So it's like, he's not dead. So they do find, he does eventually come back. They eventually periodically ask her, is he coming back today? She finally says yes, and he shows up. So they're also very, very happy. The other interesting thing that happens throughout their childhood is during one of the, I think, the winter fairs, Edna gets hooked on one of these players. And I believe this is people doing plays. And when she's supposed to meet him one evening before the festival ends, she becomes very, very ill for a couple of days. Eventually it's revealed that her sister poisoned her to make her sick because she had been told a secret the previous year that this specific man was roughing young women up, and he did this to a girl that night where he treats her very, very badly, essentially rapes her and leaves her. So she, basically to protect her sister, she poisoned her to keep her from having this happen to her. So that's one of the other interesting things. That's literally closest thing besides Kiro to a villain in this story. Kiro is definitely a villain to an extent. He's a very, very arrogant man. So Micah comes back. Shortly, not too long after this, a two young men come to the town before, I believe, it's their summer festival. And Kiro's putting on a huge ball. So, to invite all the noble people to come along. And these young men present themselves as a dancing master and his apprentice. So, they take a room at the inn and they teach dancing lessons. And Edna eventually falls in love with the dancing master. And Rosalind starts falling in love with his assistant. And eventually, at this ball, the assistant is dancing with her. And her father finds out. He's had her pretty much engaged to the prince, though of course it's not been finalized at this point. And the girl, Edna and Adele, are there because they're helping in the kitchen. He's hired them to help in the kitchen. So the dream maker who is there comes and grabs the girls. It's like, I saw Kiro grabbing Rosalind heading toward the back of the house. They break in the door. He's basically trying to kill her. His hands are around his neck, and they have to basically stop him from doing it. Now it's three women. It's Adele, Edna, and the dream maker, who's an older woman at this point. So, and he basically, Edna says, it's like, she will marry the prince. And her father kind of relaxes. But of course, she also says that she, basically she'd been seen marrying, basically he'd been seen marrying someone else. Now eventually, first an angry mob breaks in. Now what had happened previously, what I didn't bring up, is Kiro had approached her not knowing who she was and told her that he was planning, thinking she was her sister, that he was planning on sending basically pirates to attack another merchant's ship who was bringing goods in from another place, and basically foreign goods. And he was like, I'm the only one who's allowed to do this. So, and then he eventually tells her sister, again mixing them up, that he actually plans not to do it. And this is revealed because an angry mob decides to break in. And all this is revealed that he didn't actually do it, and the ship is safe. They were just waylaid. But again, he had done it, and nobody likes him, and he was going to be ruined. But then, of course, it is the other secret that is revealed is that Alexander, the dance maker, the dance instructor's, dance master's assistant, is in fact the prince. Now, Adele knew this because Alexander is his secret name, and she knew it. And the dream maker, of course, knew him because she's the mother of his aunt, so she's known him since he was a child. She also knows his cousin, who is the dancing master, who's posing as this dancing master, and who's kind of been leading him astray. And the point was, Alexander wanted to see Rosalind, or frankly Daryl, which is a real name, without being the prince. Essentially, he wanted to know if they could get to know each other as people, rather than just him being a prince. And they fell in love and did in fact get married. They got secretly married. So she did in fact marry the prince, and she's very, very happy. I mean, really, hopefully she knew this, or not. He reveals everything. That would kind of make you mad. You don't realize you're actually marrying the crown prince, like you're supposed to, only you don't know that. And Edna, however, gets kind of mad, because, again, she's been falling in love with the dancing master, and he lied to her. And she's not, and as a truth teller, she's not particularly happy about this. The other thing that you find out is they get weasel basically from Kiro that if Rosalind marries the prince, Micah can marry whoever the heck he wants. And so she's married the prince, so he gets to marry Adele, they've been in love for some time. So that's kind of their dreams have come true. And eventually it is implied at the end of the tale that Edna and the dancing master, whose name I can't remember of, do kind of get together. He likes the town. He's like his father is one of the younger brothers of the king, so he's loosely related. And so he kind of likes the life of being an innkeeper. So it's very much implied that these two get together. So that is the end of this tale. Again, a very good book. Not really any major villains besides Kiro being very, very arrogant. He is lightly ruined at the end of the tale, but I believe the Dream Maker says he's not going to get down for long. His connections with the Queen obviously are done because, yeah, he tried to kill his daughter, and the Prince witnessed this, and Prince kind of witnessed how nasty he is. So, yeah, he's going to have influence there. Like, yeah, no, we're not going to do business with you anymore. Go away. I don't care if I marry your daughter. Go away. So, but again, and then you have that brief incident with Edna, where you kind of hear about it secondhand. Otherwise, similar to the first book, there is no real villain in these stories, which makes them very nice, relaxing reads. They are fantasy reads, obviously, and they are definitely 12 to 16 is the age range it recommends. As an adult, I've enjoyed them. You could most definitely read it to younger kids. This entire series can be read to younger children. Just with the exception of that brief kind of, it's not described. It's mentioned that it's a rape scene. So parents can use their judgment on that. So, but again, this is definitely more of a teen independent read. You might be able to get middle school, but it depends on the reading level. So that is it for this review. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. I will cover this entire trilogy. I may cover more of her books as I read them. I've covered a variety of series from Tamora Pierce, which I have more in the pipeline. I covered some other different larger fantasy series, also geared toward more toward what you would consider masculine side, not necessarily boys, but masculine, as well as a lot of children's picture books and education stuff. We're a secular homeschooling family. So I cover a bunch of stuff as well as a variety of films. So be sure to check out my channel, see what I've got, like and subscribe, and see what I have planned. Thank you.